And in fact, Carpentier, also not having stopped, he is in third position.
There's the Motorola crew of Mark Blundell conferring there in the pits. And a lot of fingers crossed, I suggest, there will be in that pit for the next few laps.
Yes, of course. And it's interesting that it looks as though they've chosen the same strategy for both cars. So the eggs all in one basket, as we would say, unless they're planning to do something special. But it looks as though that's what they're going to gamble for. Try and take it all the way. Of course, Alonso Jr. has moved up as a result of all this, I gather. He's now up to
just up in
place.
the top 10. Yeah, he's in 10th place. And he and Carpentier moving up, of course, through not making a pit stop, pushes Fangio back to 14th there, as we're getting anxious here, getting ready for the restart. Two Pac West cars in front, Patrick Carpentier, Greg Moore, Michael Andretti, Dario Franchitti, there he is, the car number 9, in 6th place. We're getting ready for the restart, the pace car pulling off.
So the green flag awaits them as they come across the start-finish line once again. Maurizio Gugelmin leads as they go on to lap 53, or lap 54 rather, and Carpentier, of course, not having stopped as well, is now in third position. It's been a complete change around as different strategies are employed here. Greg Moore, our former race leader, who has been into the pits, he is now down to 4th position, and he's being chased by Michael Andretti and Dario Franchitti. And Roberto Moreno, who's been up in the top 3 all afternoon so far, he's now dropped down to 7th position, with Gilles de Ferran in 8th, Jimmy Vasser in 9th, and Alonso Jr. in 10th place. You couldn't really have had a more topsy-turvy race than we've had so far, but it could become even more topsy-turvy in the last laps.
Yeah, certainly interesting to me that Michael Andretti, able to move up several positions there, gets past both Gilles de Ferran and his own teammate Roberto Moreno during that round of pit stops. He's now in 5th position, and he can charge, he can be flat out. He knows that he has the fuel to get to the finish, as of course there does Greg Moore right in front of him. And they're rather hoping that they can dial up those cars, dial up the boost, so to speak, the fuel mixture, richen it up so it makes maximum power, go flat out to the end of this race, and hopefully they'll have enough grunt. There is Dario Franchitti's front wing end plate flapping around badly there in the breeze. We can hear it every time he turns into turn 1 in front of us, flapping around on the ground.
Yeah, that's got to be affecting him now, indeed, Franchitti, but he is running in 6th place, remember now, because of all the change around on the pit stops. So he doesn't want to lose any position. Moreno, actually, they confirmed that he got fresh tyres and full fuel. It's possible that Michael didn't go for a full load of fuel. We'll try and find that out for you. That may be why he was able to get ahead. But Moreno now putting Franchitti under pressure, who's struggling with that damaged front wing. But it's still not going to be very easy for Moreno to find a way through. This perhaps a chance, if he can get a good run out of this corner. This leads on to the long straight, the Strand as it's known, and he really needs a good exit there to build up the straight line speed. But they're then coming into a kink at the end of the straight, and that's what makes overtaking here so difficult. Yep, not alongside enough, and has to follow Franchitti through this very tight section now.
He's lucky that that is not fouling the tyre, isn't he? It's it appears to be flapping just clear of that left front tyre, which is, you can see the car understeering there as he goes around the left-hander. But there's no point in bringing him in if, as long as he doesn't get black flag, but it's certainly pretty dangerous. I'm quite surprised it's not fallen off. It's just flapping around there in the breeze. Amazing.
We just had confirmation from the Hogan pit that they won't call him in, you're right, and so they're going to leave him out there and tell him to get on with it. And well, of course, he's got to do the best he can. 6th place at the moment. If he can hold on to that, would still be a great result. Still good points for him. It would be the best result so far, but he's got to try and get there. So Franchitti struggles on with that damage. Moreno right behind him in 7th place. Up front, meanwhile, let me tell you that Gugelmin's opened up a little bit of an advantage over Mark Blundell. It's up to 1.8 seconds. So Gugelmin's pushing quite hard. Maybe Mark is taking things a little bit more carefully. He knows he's in second. He can't really put a move on Gugelmin, so he may be a little bit more cautious in 2nd place. But between them, they've opened up a bit more of a gap over Carpentier as well.
Yeah, and Dario Franchitti's crew, I'm sure, won't want to bring him in. The question is whether he will be black flagged. In actual fact, as we said it, we're just hearing from race control that he will be black flagged. He will have to come into the pits and get that piece of errant carbon fibre out of the way. Great shame, but it's not Dario's day, is it? But it's a safety call. Look at the car understeering there through the left-hander. But it is a safety call called by the kart officials. That piece of fiberglass easily could just fall off there. It could be flicked up by that front tyre. It could either hit Dario or it was more concerned the official, it hit somebody else who's running close behind. So great shame for Dario Franchitti, but a safety call by the kart officials.
He should see the black flag as he comes over the start-finish line this time. There it is, the black flag for Franchitti, and that will be backed up by radio communication from the pits. and he will have to come into the pits at the end of this lap. Of course, he can still race round until he gets back to the pits, but a new nose cone is being prepared already for him. It just is turning into one of those days, though, as you said, Jeremy, for Dario Franchitti. And it's just not destined to be here in Detroit that he's going to get a first podium finish, but surely it's not far away. The sort of performances we've seen in the last few races, a little bit of a bad run in Milwaukee for him. They didn't get the handling of the car to his liking at all in the race, but if you take the Gateway race and this one together, it just shows the learning curve that he's on, but how much he's improving as well.
Yeah, just doing a fabulous job for a rookie driver, particularly one with so little experience of these sort of cars. He hasn't driven big engine single-seater cars in his life. He had one test, I think, didn't he, for the McLaren team as a result of his contract with Mercedes-Benz. Of course, the ITC car he drove had plenty of horsepower, but it also weighed a heck of a lot more than does an IndyCar. So he's doing a wonderful job. He's very, very proud, as of course is Carl Hogan, of his young rookie driver.
There he goes, slows down, into the pits comes Dario Franchitti, and this responding to the black flag. Now time to change the nose cone on that car, and that's going to drop him right down to the back of the field. Of course, the whole stream of cars going past us here through turn one as the crew go to work, something they will have been practicing over the course of the weekend to make a quick nose change, and using the air tools with the special attachments on the front there, but it does take a little bit of time. The Allen bolts going into the front part of the monocoque, part of the crash structure as well, so you can't just clip it on with a couple of flimsy clips. It's a very vital part of the car, so it takes a little bit of time to change. We move back to the track action now, and Al Unser Jr. we can see from the onboard camera of Jimmy Vasser, and Vasser's running in 8th place. Al Unser Jr. is in 9th, behind them is Raul Boesel 10th, Parker Johnston 11th, and 12th place for Rahal.
There goes Dario Franchitti out of the pits. He is last on the lap. He is 19th now, and of course he needs another caution to get back into contention for this race. Even then he's got a heck of a lot of work to do. But there's Jimmy Vasser, as you said, holding off Al Unser Jr. Here's the onboard from Jimmy Vasser, looking back at the Penske of Al Jr. And meanwhile, the two leaders coming past here, they're 1 minute 14.014, Mauricio Gugelmin, Marc Blundell right with him actually, and those two pulling out nearly over 4 seconds over Patrick Carpentier, who has a huge train of cars behind him in 3rd place there, the young French-Canadian.
Of course, Carpentier may have had a little bit less fuel on board, or perhaps a running slightly different mixture, and that may be the reason he's dropping back under very intense pressure, as you say, from Greg Moore, Michael Andretti and Roberto Moreno behind him as we concentrate on the battle for 9th at the moment. This group of cars, it's going to be coming to a point soon, Jeremy. We're going to start seeing people taking risks. They've all sat behind each other for quite a long time during the course of the afternoon. It's no longer the early stages of this race, though. There are 19 laps to go as Gugelmin leads Blundell, Carpentier in 3rd, Moore 4th, and Andretti in 5th. And we could see some fireworks before we get to the end. To Moreno, and he's still pushing hard, lying in 6th position at the moment. Mauricio Gugelmin is our race leader, having completed 60 laps out of the 77. And Gualter Sales is going a little slowly.
Yeah, he actually slowed as he came here through turn 1. He nearly caused PJ Jones right behind him to hit the back of him. He suddenly slowed quite abruptly going through turn 1, just limping around now trying to get back to the pits.
Up front, though, remember, it's still Gugelmin leading. Marc Blundell lies in 2nd place. The two Pac West cars up front, and their lead over Carpentier some 3 seconds. Carpentier then holding up this gaggle of cars. There is Patrick Carpentier, the French-Canadian, his 1st season of the championship. The top rookie at the moment. He leads the rookie table ahead of Dario Franchitti. But at the moment, he also leads this gaggle of cars, which comprises of Greg Moore, Michael Andretti, and Roberto Moreno, with Gilles de Ferran not too far behind as well.
Interesting, the last lap by the leader, 1:15.6. That's not very quick at all. And a couple of laps ago, Brian Herter, who'd been held up after his pit stop, he was actually stuck behind Fangio for a few laps. Fangio not running quite so well, it seems, on this set of tyres. Herter got past Fangio and then did a 12.9, which is significantly faster than anybody else is running at the moment. Most people are now running 14s and 15s. That's 1 minute 14, 1 minute 15. Herter did a 1:12.9, but I think on the last lap around he must have had a quick spin because he'd suddenly dropped way back from his teammate Bobby Rahal, having just caught right up with him. So all sorts of funny things going up and down the chart here. And Gugelmin comes past again now, 1 minute 15.1 that time around.
Look at this battle getting hotter and hotter between Carpentier and Moore. There's no doubt, looking at those lap times you're saying, Jeremy, that those top 3 cars are really sort of fighting it a little bit, looking at fuel perhaps, looking at the tyre wear. If only Greg Moore and Michael Andretti and Roberto Moreno could get past these cars that didn't take a later stop, then there's no doubt that they would be going a lot quicker. But the problem is to just get past. We've seen Carpentier over the last few laps, his car really sliding around, but Greg Moore simply cannot take advantage of it. He's trying a few different things. You could see there, let the car run out a bit wider for a bit longer onto the back straight, but this is where it's so difficult to find a space, and Carpentier doing a great job. He's just putting the car in position so that Greg Moore can't really go for a move without taking a huge risk, and the championship is also so important to Greg Moore.
That's exactly right, Ben, and it's not worth the risks so far as he is concerned. It is interesting though that Carpentier now is running a very steady pace, and he and Moore are gradually inching closer toward Mark Blundell. Gap last time around between those two, 2.4 seconds, with Blundell just 1.5 seconds behind Gugelmin. Incidentally, back on the Brian Herder thing again, he did another 12.8 last time around, so nearly 3 seconds quicker than the leaders are going, and he's now caught up almost to Bobby Rahal again.
So Herter, the fastest man on the circuit, but he's way down. He's in 13th place. He's not even in the points yet, and that just shows you the 2 Team Rahal cars are quite a long way down in this particular event in Detroit. Rahal might have been a former winner here, but he's not going to win this one today, and he's going to have his teammate right behind him soon. But we've really got to focus on this battle. Carpentier is doing a fantastic job of holding the car together, if you like, because it really does seem to be sliding around quite a lot. They're the 2 leaders flash through, Gugelmin and Mark Blundell, Carpentier, Greg Moore, Michael Andretti, and really focusing on this battle for third between the 2 Canadians, because if there's going to be a change, this is where it's going to be. And of course, once Greg Moore, if he gets past, there's no doubting that he would be able to close up to the 2 Pac West cars fairly quickly. Bit of back markers around as well. Michael Andretti we ride with now, and he's also looking to score points. Greg Moore and Michael Andretti both with a great opportunity to close up a bit to Paul Tracy, unable to start this race, as we've mentioned a couple of times. But just to remind you, Tracy not racing here today after suffering neck problems. Look at the car. Carpentier's car through the kink, which is taken flat out as they come past the start-finish line. Even through there, the car seems to be snaking around. But still, Greg Moore cannot find anywhere to actually get alongside him.
Now, with the marbles offline, it just makes it that much more difficult to get alongside anybody, Ben. It's a really tall order here for Greg Moore. Patrick, as long as he doesn't put a foot wrong, he's going to be it's going to be tough to get past the guy. And you know, they're definitely inching closer. There is Mark Blundell in front of them, and Gugelmin we just saw go out of the picture. So they are closing in on the battle. Moore just needs to be patient here and let the race come. Look at those marbles offline. You just cannot risk running offline there to try and make a pass.
So Michael Andretti still chasing after Moore, and I just wonder what's going on in the Pac West pit at the moment, wondering whether they can actually get to the end of this race. They will have readouts, they will know the fuel situation in the car and whether they are going to make it to the checkered flag or not. And it must be pretty tense down there at the moment as they see the 2 cars up front, first and second. That really would be something, wouldn't it? But we've still got 12 laps to go here. We know that the likes of Greg Moore, Michael Andretti, Moreno, De Ferrer, they're fine on fuel. They can turn up the wick as much as they like. They're better on tyres as well because they stopped later than the 2 leaders. So there's still some way to go here. It's about 25 miles still to go and everything to play for. Gilles de Ferran at the back of that group, and still Carpentier fends off Greg Moore. The battle between 2 Canadian drivers, and 2 Canadian drivers from very different parts of Canada. We're going to a part of America which is much closer to Greg Moore's hometown when we go to the Portland race in 2 weeks' time. We're quite close to Canada here, but this is closer to Carpentier's part of Canada, really.
Yeah, this is true. Over on the West Coast, as you say, in a couple of weeks' time. And Greg Moore really considers Portland International Raceway his home circuit. He did a lot of racing there in Formula Ford and Formula Ford 2000 in the formative stages of his career. So he's certainly looking forward to getting up to that. Here's look at this whole train of cars here, all the way back to Bobby Rahal at the back of that pack. In actual fact, Brian Herder has caught up to him. Herder is in 13th place, and he can probably just about see the leader, at least on the strand, on the longest straightaway.
That's really incredible, isn't it? 13 cars virtually in a train as they come past us here into turn one, and just nobody able to quite find that little gap. I tell you what, though, it shows the high standard of the driving as well, because if you only